The value-added tax exoneration implemented by the government is depriving the nation of hundreds of billions of CFA francs in tax and custom revenue, with suspicions that the rich may be benefiting from a measure intended for the poor. The Joe Chebonkeng era begins for real at the National Communication Council as the media regulator slams suspicion sentences to journalists and media organs for unprofessional and unethical practices. The Cameroon Radio Television mobilizes its arsenal of reporters and equipment in the West region to ensure an optimal coverage and production of signals of the 2021 AFCON that the country will be staging come January 2022. Those are our lead stories. Hello and thanks for joining us. I am Ben Menopufong and this is the 7:30 News.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Barely a week ago, it was established in Parliament that government lost a staggering 584 billion CFA francs in tax expenditure and other fiscal exemptions in 2020 alone. Reason why the lawmakers have been pressing on government to review its fiscal policy and ensure that the rich do not take undue advantage of a measure intended for the poor. Crise arrayed Takang in the first of our two-angle report on the ongoing debate on fiscal exoneration, reports on the impact of the measure on the country's tax and custom revenue.
In Cameroon, the tax applied to the purchase of goods and services stands at 19.25%. The tax code makes provision for a wide range of essential goods exempt from the value-added tax in order to enable consumers buy more for less. Exonerations which cost the state 584.7 billion CFA francs in revenue losses in 2019, prompting questions on an initiative meant not only to promote certain sectors of activity, but above all, keep the economy stimulated. On the one hand, there are arguments that business operators making gains from these measures are not putting back enough into the system through job and wealth creation, but rather filling private coffers thanks to the state's largesse. On the other, there are calls for the state to show proof of more efficiency in the management of the consumption tax. Proposals include investing in the local industry, the creation of more projects specifically targeted at the financially less endowed, and stricter control in the use of fiscal expenditure. There are equally calls for the state to better oversee the practices of businesses to ensure that a move meant to bring positive local transformation does not end up being a club for a select few.
And should the trend continue the way it is going, government may be in for trouble in the years ahead, given the huge fiscal losses it is incurring in just a year. And as Lumaslim Davis now explains, there is a pressing need for a change in the situation and to save the state from revenue drain.
Taxes, which could be direct or indirect, bring in revenue for the government. The government, on the other hand, uses the revenue to lubricate state machinery in terms of financing economic projects and other social obligations.
The state can decide to let go some taxes by exoneration. That is to obtain two objectives. One, to boost development, to have easy access on product of basic necessity. To obtain these objectives, it is important to carry out control and ensure that the target objective is met.
In 2019, 584 billion CFA francs was recorded as the amount government left off the hook in the various taxable sectors, a situation that could be improved upon.
584 billion of taxes. It is too much for our economy. It is important for the state to control this kind of public expenditure.
Relatively, on societal tax, the Cameroonian SFR was proposed beginning from the functioning of societal tax, such as the decline in the General Tax Code.
Cameroonian lawmakers have expressed the need for land legislation in the country to take into consideration the customary rights of communities and their people and to render access to natural resources equitable. The lawmakers underscored the point at a special plenary sitting in Yaoundé today on the legal, socio-economic and political aspects of land reorganization in Cameroon. Kmer is at the National Assembly with details.
Over 80% of cases filed in Cameroon's courts are land-related and largely blamed on obsolete land reforms that dates back to 1974. Deputy Speaker Honorable Kombogberry upholds that 10 years after the state resolved to modernize the land tenure system, Parliament worries about the delay.
We've been living with cattle railers and we are farmers, and the land issue has come up time and again. And of late, people have adopted funny strategies to create conflict between the farmers and the grazers.
The state is conscious of the incoherence in legal instruments and the lapses in inclusion and security.
We are working to assure equitable access to land to all categories, to assure this acceleration of the establishment of land certificates for all categories.
With the need to strengthen women's rights to land emphasized, justice rendered in sale and possession, as well as delimiting ownership in councils, the lawmakers endorsed equity schemes.
Ensure full participation of communities in the management of lands as concerns projects to transfer rights. Enact a provision relating to the exoneration of compensation mechanism concerning the payment of transfer costs.
A formal land policy that facilitates equal and affordable access is inextricably linked to development.
Still at the National Assembly, the Minister Delegate to the Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals engaged an exchange with members of the Committee on Constitutional Laws on how much the Criminal Procedure Code in the country is promoting the respect of human rights. Jean de Dieu Momo used the occasion to brief the lawmakers on the human rights situation in Cameroon. Kmer once again.
The number of cases where human rights are violated abound, especially in crisis-stricken regions of the country, and the committee members, led by Honorable Zondol Hesese, question actions carried out by governments.
I have informed them about all the legislation that the Cameroon put in place to protect and to promote the human rights.
Cognizance of reports of non-governmental organizations and individual denouncements of instances of torture and abuse, there is a considerable amelioration.
Now it is forbidden. When somebody is facing a law, you can just call your lawyer, and you can even say, I will speak only in front of my lawyer. So it was not like this before.
The lawmakers believe a just judicial system is a fundamental right of the people.
And the government of Cameroon and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, have reviewed their cooperation framework for 2019-2024. The exercise was done in the presence of the ministers of agriculture, of small and medium-sized enterprises, of livestock and of environment. The review comes as IFAD 11 will be giving way to IFAD 12 with new investment projects to identify. Beatrice Ngum tells us more.
The cooperation review between the government of Cameroon and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, in the country is said to be good. The IFAD Cameroon review carries the successes made to sustainably improve revenues and ensure food and nutritional security of the rural poor.
The biggest investment we've had for IFAD 11 is on youth, so that they get capacitated to invest in value chain of their choices. The other investment is on value chain development.
Lessons learned during the execution phase of IFAD 11 will help the IFAD team and government define their priorities for upcoming IFAD 12, which spans 2022-2024.
We are going to assess ourselves in thematic groups to see how much those investments went where they are supposed to go and what we are supposed to actually adjust. So from next year, we are looking at the new investments.
In 40 years, IFAD Cameroon has pumped in some $20.4 billion in the promotion of youth agro-pastoral and aquaculture entrepreneurship, improve the livelihoods of small bamboo farmers, and to build resilience to climate change.
The African Development Bank and the State of Cameroon will continue working together to ensure the proper execution of projects funded by the financial institution. The assurance was given following an audience between Finance Chief Louis-Paul Motaze and the Director of the ADB Group, Serge Nguessan. In a separate audience, the Minister of Finance and the British High Commissioner to Cameroon, Christian Denis Macleu, discussed economic cooperation between Britain and Cameroon. Cynthia Saptala reports.
The meeting with the newly appointed British High Commissioner to Cameroon was to reaffirm economic relations given the economic partnership agreement between both nations, focusing on increasing trade and investment.
We had a good first discussion on a number of different subjects, particularly around the economy and debt financing in Cameroon, and we're looking forward to working together.
The second audience with the minister was with the new Director General of the African Development Bank Group for East, Central and Southern African regions, who comes to ensure the effectiveness of the bank's portfolio across Central Africa.
The government has mobilized through the African Development Bank enough resources to finance all the reforms, but mainly the key project in this country. Now, what is remaining is to implement these projects.
The new Director General will also spearhead regional business development and investment, driving resource mobilization across the countries under his remit.
33-year-old Musa Kada, a Garoua resident, is one of the about 800 youths who benefited from the 3-year special youth plan instituted by the President of the Republic. His animal feed production unit, set up and run with the 13 million CFA francs he received from the program, has been a life-changing venture to him. Luisa Akwanka Achato reports on the difference the plan has been making in the life of youths in the North region.
Within the Jambutu neighborhood of the North Regional capital Garoua is situated a young enterprise, the first of its kind created in the vicinity in the month of October 2020, specialized in the manufacture of animal feed. The owner is 33-year-old Musa Kada, one of about 800 youths of the region who have benefited from the head of state's 3-year special youth plan.
I heard about the program on the radio and decided to give it a try. The project I mounted was approved. The funds made available. That is how I was able to set up this unit, which I run with the technical assistance of the North Regional Delegation of Youth Affairs and Civic Education.
His ingenious project enabled him to receive 13 million CFA francs as subvention, with which he has been able to acquire a transformation unit and raw materials. With the help of his 3 employees, he is able to supply animal rearers within the region and beyond, thanks to which he is able to record significant profit. Musa Kada has advised youths who are willing to seek affiliation with the plan, which went operational in 2016 to foster poverty alleviation and contribute to the nation's socio-economic growth.
There is a puzzle that many a Cameroonian is yet to unravel even today, and that puzzle is whether or not it is possible to make it in a competitive examination in the country without a godfather. Take it or leave it, 7 out of 10 Cameroonians hold, and strongly so, that succeeding in public competitive examinations in the country today lies more in the hands of godfathers than on the merit of the candidates. Now that the season for competitive entrance examinations have been launched in the country, the debate is very much alive in the Cameroonian public space, and Constantine Baum went confronting those views in our talk of the day slot tonight.
The billboards are many, as well as preparatory notebooks, an indication that candidates must work hard to secure a place in public professional schools.
When you don't have any person up, the chances are very, very low.
Godfather concept is one of the forms of corruption. People will believe that if you don't have a godfather, you cannot go into the school, but it is not in every case. If you are very intelligent, I don't see how your position will be bought over by a godfather.
Seated in these classrooms are candidates getting ready to sit upcoming competitive examinations.
You are well prepared, you will make it. You don't need any godfather. We believe is in God.
Believe in themselves. Work hard. Hard working is the key of success.
The Ministry of Public Service coordinates the direct competitive examinations.
The access into public service is governed by equal treatment and non-discrimination of candidates, merit of candidates, and the need to take into account the sociological diversity of our country with the implementation of regional quota.
Article 163, paragraph 1 of the criminal procedure punishes from 2 to 5 years imprisonment anyone who by using corrupt practices facilitates the admission or cause the failure of a candidate in a government competitive examination.
You're watching the 7:30 news on the Cameroon Radio Television, the CRTV. We are beaming live from Yaoundé. The Minister of Communication, René Emmanuel Sadi, has reminded publishers and distributors of local and foreign newspapers to comply with the legal provisions obliging them to deposit their publications in his department. The call to order was made through a press release issued in Yaoundé last Friday. Ewane Epole read through the document and comes back on its ramifications and what offenders are risking.
Newspapers produced or published in Cameroon are not regularly sent to the Ministry of Communication as it should be. This is the reason why Minister René Emmanuel Sadi is requesting for editors to comply with the law of December 19, 1990 on the right to social communication.
Those are provisions of the law in section 16 that has to be respected. We should recall that the Minister of Communication has many missions. One of them is observation of media, to see whether people do respect the ethics and the deontology.
The minister invites news editors to send 2 copies of their newspapers not later than 2 hours after they are published.
There are more than 650 that are declared, but not all of them are published every time. So we are talking of the 120 something newspaper that at least can be seen out within a month. The obligation is very much clear. Every time you publish, if it is even once a year, you have to deposit it.
A public register has been opened at the Private Media Development and Advertisement Service of the Communication Ministry. The decision states that those who will not comply will be sanctioned according to the rules enforced.
The Chebonkeng era has begun for real at the National Communication Council as the very first sanctions of the media regulatory body have started falling. 2 journalists were today slammed suspension sentences of between 1 and 6 months for unprofessional conduct, while the third was warned and acquitted. The sanctions followed on the heels of a meeting of the council during which its president invited the council's new members to avail themselves of their rich professional experience to help ensure a responsible media in Cameroon. Details with Nuweya Ben Mudika.
As he installed them into functions, the council's president, Joe Chebonkeng, announced that work was beginning right away and that this should be open-hearted in conviviality, integrity, and honesty. He was unequivocal that their work is not to muzzle the press. He, however, warned that those who violate ethical rules would eventually be sanctioned.
We are not here to muzzle the press, nor are we here to sanction individuals. But that doesn't mean that people who are found guilty of violating professional ethics, the law will come down in full force on those who deviate from the realities of what this noble profession calls us to. That social responsibility.
There was so much of getting used to between members of the new team and so much to discover and discuss in camera. Their first session ended with the pronouncement of sanctions to 2 journalists and their media organs and a warning sent to another.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
Cameroon will, from this Wednesday, July 7, up till the 11th of July 2021, embark on a massive vaccination campaign to increase the number of persons vaccinated against the coronavirus in the country. Different strategies such as door-to-door and the multiplication of vaccination sites will be used to push on with the campaign. But what will those who like to go for those vaccinations need to know before they step out of their homes? Let's now join BrigadeAntiSardinard at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center with his guest, Dr. Andreas Njo. Hello, Baldwin, and thanks. I'm very glad to having you back again.
The pleasure is mine. Good evening to you, Ben Menopofong. The choice as to where exactly to have yourself vaccinated come this Wednesday when we have the start of this mass vaccination campaign in Cameroon remains a major concern for many Cameroonians. With our guest tonight, Dr. Andreas Njo of the National Immunization Program, we get to know more about these different vaccination sites nationwide. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
Tell us, Doctor, apart from the different strategies put in place for this mass vaccination campaign, what do Cameroonians need to know about these vaccination sites in the 10 different regions of Cameroon?
Yes, thank you so much. The first thing to emphasize is that the usual 200 and over 244 sites that have been functional all over the country are still active. They'll be active during this period. But in addition to this, there'll be additional teams, mobile teams, that will move within the community. These teams will visit enterprises, they'll visit other organized structures where the target 18 years and above can be found, churches, and even door-to-door where applicable. But it's worth to note that before the arrival of this team, there will be persons who will come around our vicinities, localities, to announce the various additional sites where mobile teams will be. So when they come, you kindly permit them get vaccinated. They'll inform you about COVID, and they'll give you the opportunity to get vaccinated.
For those who want to know about some of these sites, for example, those in Yaoundé or Douala, what idea can they have about some of these key sites?
The key sites are major structures, enterprises, where you have persons 18 years above and above, schools, and any other gathering, be it church, mosque, where you have the target. That will be announced within the respective health districts.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andreas Njo, for your availability tonight with over 244 vaccination centers available in the 10 different regions of Cameroon. Cameroonians are simply reminded for the need to have themselves vaccinated during this mass vaccination campaign that begins this Wednesday. Back to you, Ben Menopofo.
Thank you very much, Baldwin Sama. One of Cameroon's leading commercial banks, Société Générale Cameroun, has come up with a Civil Servants Day which has as objective to serve their clients who are civil servants within a short time frame. The concept, which is the first of its kind in the bank, will be observed on the 25th of every month. Scholar Maloke reports on that innovation from Douala.
The Société Générale Cameroun Banking Institution is determined to offer quality services to its customers, especially those of the public service. It is for this reason that they have come out with a concept dubbed the Civil Servants Day. The day, which is observed in all its branches nationwide, places civil servants as top priority in services offered by the Société Générale. The move, which is aimed at solidifying services offered to civil servants, has been saluted by the beneficiaries.
Je ne peux plus utiliser la carte. Je ne peux plus l'utiliser. Pour le moment, arrêtez d'avoir la carte. N'utilisez pas pour le moment.
Je suis client depuis 10 ans.
I've been a customer in this bank for about 10 years now. They offer quality services. SGBC is the best bank.
During this maiden edition of the event, the officials of the bank Société Générale Cameroun said their reasons for creating such a day are threefold.
C'est dans l'optique de renforcer la proximité avec notre clientèle fonctionnaire.
It is to reinforce the relationship that we have with our customers, that we put aside a day like this, dubbed Civil Servants Day, in all our banking networks throughout the national territory. We want our civil servants customers to understand that they are special in our bank. We wish to improve listening, reception and satisfaction of these civil servant customers. We also want to confirm our commitment to accompany our civil servant customers.
Developing proximity and proposing products adapted to the needs of civil servants is key on Civil Servants Day at Société Générale Cameroun.
Let's talk sports now. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has expressed satisfaction with the quality of hotel facilities available in the Garoua pool ahead of the 2021 African Cup of Nations. They were speaking last weekend at the end of a working visit to Garoua. Baldwin Sama now presents some of the key hotel structures that the city of Garoua has to offer ahead of the start of that competition come January.
Situated a few minutes from the Garoua International Airport and the main town, the Garoua Ribadou Hotel has come to add to the number of available hotels in Garoua ahead of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations. Constructed by the Portuguese, this hotel has 70 available rooms, among which are presidential suites. A comfortable environment it has, ready to accommodate guests from different parts of the African continent during the football competition. 2 teams are expected to be lodged here during the competition. Another hotel facility that attracts many onlookers in Garoua is the Hotel La Benue, situated in the heart of town. 2 teams will equally be lodged here with over 76 available quality rooms that meet required norms. Construction work is at the finishing touches, with the hotel to go operational by the end of this month.
And a delegation led by the Director General of the Cameroon Radio Television, Charles Ndongo, is just back from the West region, where it got first-hand information as the station readies to have broadcasting equipment for the 2021 AFCON installed. The team returned to Yaoundé on an optimistic note as to the corporation's commitment to delivering on its signal and its production of the signals for the competition. And from Bafoussam, Chancellor Nanze tells us more.
The delegation is made up of CRTV's Director General, Charles Ndongo, the Deputy Director General, Emmanuel Wongibe, who doubles as the head of the AFCON project as far as the CRTV is concerned, and other close collaborators of the GM. Their mission in the West is to study the environment for the eventual installation of CRTV's equipment in view of the 2021 Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations, slated for January next year, since the corporation is in charge of producing the signal for the competition. Upon arrival in Bafoussam, the Ndongo-led delegation made a courtesy call on the president of the Bafoussam side of AFCON 2021, Governor Awafonka Augustine, who congratulated the CRTV, especially the West Regional Station, for the work they have been doing to support government action and prepare for the Continental Jamboree. Their next stop was the Bafoussam City Council, in charge of the AFCON village. The city mayor, Roger Tafam, in the course of their exchange, said fan zones with giant screens will be set up in strategic locations in town to enable those who will not be chanced to be in the stadium to watch the games. They are also visiting hotels that could possibly host the CRTV team during the competition.
And the Yaoundé Conference Center will be the venue of the draw of the 2021 African Cup of Nations, for which preparations are heating up in the country. A delegation from the Confederation of African Football made a round of the facility today for a first-hand appraisal of its suitability for the ceremony that comes up early next month. Daniel Ekonde did the rounds with the team.
The Yaoundé Conference Center is previewed to host the draw of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations next month. It is the business of the Confederation of African Football to see it realized very well.
Today was the first day to bring the technical team to have a look at the facility, and in due course we will definitely bring other people from protocol, from marketing and so forth, just to have a look at the facility. But you can see it's a very impressive facility.
The South African and his Ivorian colleague Jabate Zakaria from CAF's Security and Safety Department examined the hosting capacity, conference room, media center for journalists and surety of the environment.
We have shown them what is the conference center, the rooms, the equipment. I think that the conference center is the best place where this ceremony can take place.
How seamless things go, it is also the concern of the local organizing committee of the AFCON.
We need a Congress hall with all the facilities in order to organize a very, very prestigious draw ceremony next month.
The CAF experts will submit their findings to their Secretary General, Veron Misengo Ongba.
The 7:30 news on the Cameroon Radio Television. That's the way it was this Monday evening. Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Si seulement je pouvais l'écouter aussi longtemps que je veux. Si seulement elle pouvait m'appeler gratuitement quand elle veut. Si seulement mon associé et moi pouvions